Jeff, so I think we just talked about what Actix does and what's important, where we're going as a company. So what I'm going to do is showcase what we do, demo a few things. Again, it's a video that captures different facets of the platform. So I'm just going to show that and explain as you're going through it. So we're going to be talking about customer experience again. I think that's one of the key things that we're looking at. So let me just quickly pause for a second. So what we're doing, we talked about this before, is we're getting call measurements from what the users are doing in the network. So from 2G, 3G, LTE, all technologies. And once we have that, we are geolocating that data to see where the users are and what their experience is with the network. And we are correlating that with the business data. So for example, customer complaints. So is there a certain area where there are a lot of customer complaints? Any areas where there are a lot of churn for that network? Or again, social media, where the users actually tweeting or uploading data from. So getting all of those things. And once we combine those two, where your actual users are and where you're getting that business data, that really helps you understand, again, what you need to fix, what should you focus on. Again, do SON on those or analyze it again for corporate important customers. So I'll just start the video again, go on to the next slide. That basically will show us some of the key things that what we can see once the data comes in. So in this case, for example, so this is real subscriber data. As you can see on the map background, what we have done is taken that actual user data, and we are showing in this case, for example, the network wants to know where are all my new iPhone 5 subscribers. So in this case, we can figure out in that certain area, these are the number of subscribers that are using an iPhone on the network. So that gives you a level of understanding of where certain handsets, etc., might be being used, which is very handy for marketing, for example, to see where they can figure out to upsell or offer something else, offer some discounts. They can figure out what they need to do next. So that's, again, just one of the things. The other thing we'll look at next is once we have that, so other things that you can do. So not just we know what type of handset they're using, you can do different things like figure out what the coverage looks like. So in this case, very quickly, we can figure out in all of these blocks, my coverage is what I need it to be. In all of these blocks of areas, this is where my coverage is not good, and this is what I need to fix. And this is something that you don't get today from traditional networks, because all you're getting is a sector that's probably 2 to 5 kilometers away, and it just says there's an issue. You don't know where it is. With the geolocated subscriber data, you actually know where the problem exists, so you can really focus and fix just that problem itself. So if we go on to the next one, and it just takes some, again, it's a video, so it just takes a minute to come back, pause when it comes again. Other things you can do, again, once you have the data, you can, again, there are other data sources that collect data just not for yourself, but also collect data for competitors. So the same platform you can bring in and compare and figure out, benchmark to see how you're doing versus your competition. And again, all of these things essentially end up, we'll talk about it, how they end up leading to where you really want to make a difference and fix issues. So again, just a 30-second hold, and we'll get the next one. So this is what we are doing. So what we saw before so far was getting the geolocated data that, again, we're using our algorithms to create those things. In this case, we're now getting business data to show us where the customers actually have complaints. So we have highlighted areas where there are 5 different complaints coming in the same area. Now you can imagine with our solution, we now know where the users are, where the customer complaints are coming in, what the network looks like in that area. So now we have basically combined all of them together to say, you know what, this is the area with my high-profile iPhone subscribers having poor coverage, numerous customer complaints, so I need to fix that first before I go and do anything else. So just getting that information, so you're getting data from the network, you're getting your business data, just combining them is just really powerful in what you can do with it. So again, this is just a view, the same thing. You can see how it zooms in and it actually shows you actual streets with different data where it failed, where it didn't. Now this is another very important thing, dashboards that we look at. And again, this could be engineering dashboards, management dashboards. So for example, we have split this entire space in areas where there are high drops, for example. So all of the reds are where they're really high. So if you can see, notice here, we have our VIP customer drops turned on. So what that means is we are looking not just at customer data, we have combined them to basically say these are the VIP customers that I really want to make sure are getting good service because they're really my high-paying customers that I really want to keep happy and don't want to lose them. So this shows me where just overall we have overall drops for VIPs. If I go and look further, we can turn on, for example, we just turn on customer complaints. When we turn on actual customer complaints, one of that red area turns orange, which means it's not as bad as the other three that are still shown up on the screen. And then if I go on the next one, turn on competition data saying where the data from competition is better. So we just turned a few things on here that says competition is better and I have capacity issues, turn on the ones where I have issues. So now if you look at the screen again, if you compare with where we started, we probably had 4 different red areas where we had to fix things. We have narrowed it down saying this is where my high profile customers are having drops. They are complaining, my data throughput is lower than the competition and I have capacity issues. So this is where I need to focus and get my bang for my buck because this is where I need to fix things. So that's the other thing you can do with the solution itself is get all of this data and really make those decisions about what you're going to be doing. A few other things, again, we talked about that is, again, once you have all of this customer data, you can actually create kind of a traffic map or a demand of how the user is actually using the network. So in this case, we have split all of these areas. What you've seen are, for example, this is a city transport hub, this is the central business district, the tourist area, university campus. And what you're seeing in there is how many people are actually coming and using the network in those areas overall. When actually is the busy hour for voice? When is the busy hour for data? Could be same, could be different. Also, what that helps us understand is, for example, the central business district, their busy hour is 2 to 3. As for the city transport hub, it's 4 to 5. So when you see that data, it helps you understand if I'm going to assign resources, change a few things, I know between 2 to 3 o'clock, the central business district is where my resources need to be. That's where the busy hour is. If I come to the transport hub between 4 to 5, I need to move resources to that area because that's where I'm seeing my traffic. So again, just having that customer profiles and seeing what they're doing helps you understand and get those things prioritized. So the next one, again, it's going to be another kind of a reporting that we use from the actual subscriber data. And in this case, what we are basically looking at is just, again, in terms of handsets, what is each handset doing for the network? So how many users are on iPhone 3G? How many are on the iPhone 4? How many on the 4S? How many on 5? And then again, the signaling overhead, what's their throughput like? What's the drop call like? So again, just not looking at customers, also looking at handsets to figure out, again, which handset maybe you should be pushing for or which handset manufacturer you should go back to and say you need to fix things because really they're causing my network to look bad because they are having issues as compared to the other devices. So in this case, what you're looking at again, these are our bins where we have throughput issues. So what you see here is we have looked at our maps, and I'm just going to pause it for a while. So again, similar function, we have the subscriber data, geolocated them, and highlighting specifically with each bin where you have issues. So rather than even a bigger area, we can go to small 100 by 100 or 20 by 20 meter bins and give you what's happening in that small bin. So for example, this is the hourly data for that bin only. See where the spikes are, that's where the throughput is going up or the signer is going up. So you can see those things. And essentially, as you're moving with different things, you can go and quickly figure out, again, what's happening in the neighboring bin. And again, all of this ties into when you're doing optimization, you have the history of how this looks like, so you can actually figure out and make better decisions of what you should be doing. Okay, so in this case, again, we just turned on the network. Again, that's an important, finally, that is one of the important pieces, is you have to look at the network to see what network is serving that area, and then figure out, okay, that's what I'm going to be trying to fix when I fix this. So some of these, again, as you're seeing all of these charts and the maps on the side, they just highlight different issues. So it could be ISRP with throughput. You can combine them all together to create different heat maps. So again, you can either look at individual heat maps, bring in something else, and just overall, based on what type of analysis you want to do, just bring in anything you like. So again, great example of a heat map overall to figure out where you have issues with coverage, where you don't. So in this case, what you're looking at actually here is something very interesting. So in this case, what we're bringing in is actually Twitter feeds. So where actually users, not just on your network, they could be anyone on any network, where are they uploading the Twitter feeds from? So I can see where the actual traffic is, and I can go and look at the same area to see, do I have enough coverage? Do I have enough capacity to serve those people? Because one, I want to target those people who are not on my network, because I know that's where everybody is. And the only way I'm going to get more subscribers is if they come on, they get a good experience. So that's the power of, again, getting that social media information, combining them with RAN information, and figuring out, again, how we can optimize it for the current customers, and how I can target to get even more than what I have today. So again, what you're showing here is, again, how you can create different filters to figure out exactly where you are. So this is, if you can see, this is where you have a lot of traffic, and that is what your actual area looks like in terms of coverage, etc. This, again, is another interesting thing that we always do, is looking at VIPs. So, for example, this is a corporate headquarters that we're looking at. And what we're doing here is saying, okay, for the corporate headquarters, again, by default, you want to keep them, they're your best customer. And you want to look at them and figure out if they have enough coverage, if they're seeing any drops. If so, how are you going to fix them? So that's, again, another important thing you're doing with the solution, is not just looking at all of the data, actually prioritizing them to see which ones are important, scaling them, and then fixing those first. So I'm just going to move forward some bit on some of these graphs. Again, this actually gets into more of the detailed analysis that you can do. Again, this is more reactive that we have been talking about, is once you collect data, how you can see the coverage, see where the drops are happening, go and do a lot of more detailed analysis for the engineering side as well. So you can do that with the solution as well. What I'm going to go to next is, actually this was interesting as well, is in this case, what we are doing, let me just go back a few clips. So when you're looking at all of this data, so not only can you see where the drops are happening, you're actually classifying them whether they happen indoors or outdoors, because your RF, your optimization parameters change based on where your actual customers are. So not only we are just seeing what they're experiencing, we experience where they are experiencing, whether it's just an outdoor location, actually in building, we can figure that out and let them know that. And finally, I'm just going to move up, just show some of the SON features of what we're doing based on the customer data. So I'll just move some quickly. So in this case, what we're doing here is, again, this is what we've been doing very recently and focusing on, is getting the SON solution. So once you have seen the issues, what do I do with them? So in this case, for example, I see my ECIO values, again, just shooting through the roof, so I need to do something and fix it. So what our SON solution does is basically, in this case, what we're looking at is a capacity management SON. So what we do is first we detect if there is a capacity issue. If we see that is the case, we basically send it to our capacity controller that basically decides what things can be done to fix the issue. So there could be multiple paths for what needs to be done. And once that is done, it takes it back, sends it to the network, and then changes those parameters. And then we monitor to see if that's going to change and fix what we're looking at. So you'll see as we're going through the different use cases, it's capacity. You can be looking at neighbors. So example, the next one that's coming up is the neighbors. So for example, in this case, we looked at all of the neighbors, identified all the neighbors, looked at the ones that are missing, and sent it back to our neighbor coordinator. And the neighbor then decides whether they want to add the neighbor, maybe change the SC, do something else. So there are multiple paths that can be done to, again, fix the issue that we have so far. So I think that, again, that was a very quick snapshot of what we're doing in terms of, again, just using customer experience, doing the reactive thing, and then finally taking it to the next frontier where you can actually use SON and use that intelligence to actually make changes to the network and fix it on the fly.